Hello class, we're going to start drawing the section in this video. Again, if you haven't done so already, set your layer to a color 4. That's going to be what a lot of this section is, or the cut lines, what we're cutting through, which is all the walls and the roof and things of that nature. And I'll be able to draw down from the plan and across from the elevation. So I'm going to go to line, and I'm going to come up to my cut line, right? So I'm going to say, okay, well, I've cut my first wall here. I'm not going to worry about the porch, of course, at first, like many times I save that to the end. And if I knew the wall thickness, I could offset it, but I could just also draw a guideline from where my cut line is and coming straight down like this. And I can do the same for the other side. Again, just like in plan, I'm not going to worry about the window just yet. So I'll just draw solid walls, and if I have to even snap up to that part of the wall, that's perfectly fine. So it's basically going to be the width of most of my building, exclusive of the porch. And I might draw my lines for across for the different levels, so I know that at some point I'm going to have to put the ground in. So I'll just draw a line for the ground. I'll draw a line across for my first floor, which is going to be at the top of this porch here. Pull that across right from my elevation, and the second floor, the top of the second floor is going to be here. And we're going to have to, you'll see here in this video, we'll have to use these points to construct the thickness of the floor thickness, which we aren't quite given yet. And then the roof. Well, if you look, the roof is really pretty much just the same roof as this thing, right? So I'm actually going to just take a shortcut. I'm going to zoom over to this elevation, and I'm going to go to copy, and I'm going to take this exterior edge and select this line and this line and this line and this line and that little line and that line, and hit enter. And then from this base point right here, I'm going to copy right over to this base point right here. We can see it fits right into place, and it goes. Now I do know the top of this edge here because it's given to us in a note, so we see how high this floor to ceiling heights are due to your drawing, and that second floor is 8, 4 1/4. So if I come here and I offset this line, which is the top of the floor, offset 8 foot 4.25 or 8 1/4 of an inch, I can select this line and come up to here and hit enter, and then just fill it. Oh, sorry, I did offset, do fill it here to here, and hit enter to do fill it again. Go here to here to here, and hit enter to do fill it again, because I can also do here to here and here to here. And we can do the same thing to get the second floor thickness. The floor to floor for the first floor, if you look at your drawing, is 9 foot 0. So so that's this line here. So I'm going to offset 9 foot and select this line and click here, and we can see the result is what the floor thickness is going to be. Now in this case, I need to do a bunch of trimming to get this set up. So I'm going to actually use trim. I'm going to use my cutting edges because I'm not sure what I'm cutting through. So I'm going to select this line. I'm going to select this line, and I'm just going to cut these and hit enter and cut these guys off. Cut these guys off and hit enter. And I actually need to clean this up because this is still wrong. I have to open it up all on the inside. Just like when you cut, you sort of connect all the cut pieces together in a drawing like this. So I'm going to go to trim again and hit enter, so I can just make everything a cutting edge and just trim that across there, and trim this all across here and here, and hit enter. And we can see we got the top portion of that. We already have the first floor done. So to find, and I can trim this out, but it actually has porches on each side of it, right? Because we're cutting here, so there's a bit of porch here and a bit of porch here. So this line is going to extend past because of the porch. So I'll figure that out later, but I'm going to do trim for here, and I can start to trim up the inside because I know that this is all going to be trimmed like that, and it's going to continue down. Actually, it's not quite right, but we'll get this here in a second. So I'm going to do that because actually the thickness of the foundation is going to be different than the thickness of this frame wall. This frame wall has insulation, it's got siding, it's got other things. It's constructed any number of ways, which I'm sure we go over in lecture. Of course, the foundation is probably going to be concrete, and that's going to be constructed with its own dimensions. So I'm going to actually erase the inside dimension there of that and keep the outside, so the outside walls are aligned. And I'm going to offset the thickness of the foundation, which in this case is 8 inches. So I'm going to go offset and do 8, enter, and click here, offset inwards, and click here and offset inwards. And if you're very zoom in, it almost looked like it was the same, but it's not, right? And if I zoom in, we can see the gap. So I do have to fill that gap together here, here, and here, and fillet it on this side. Hit enter to start fillet again to fill out that small hole. And then we look at our drawing. Our ceiling to floor height in the basement is 8 feet. So I'm going to go to offset and do 8 feet, enter. Offset this down to there. And then we have our slab, which is going to be 4 inches. So I'll offset this 4 inches for enter for our slab. And we have to start to design our footing. And I think the footing is 8 inches by 1'4", so 8 inches deep by 1'4" across, a line at the bottom of this zone here. So I'm going to just start by drawing that rectangle. Again, it's 1'4", 1'4" by 8 inches down, and by 1'4", and then up and close that rectangle. And I'm going to go to my move tool and hit enter. And I'm going to start by just moving it up to that point there. So we get it. Now it's not set left to right, but it's set up to down. Now I need to find the midpoint because this footing should be in the midpoint of the foundation wall. So I'm going to do a line, a temporary guideline across the foundation. I could have offset 4 inches because I know it's 8 inches, but if I didn't want to do the math, I could draw from the midpoint and draw down. So now this guideline is finding the midpoint of my footing. So I'm going to go back to move, and I'm going to select just my footing. And if I use a window just like you saw on screen, I'll just select the footing, hit enter, snap for the midpoint of that footing, which is right here, to perpendicular of the line I just constructed, and now the footing's in the right spot. I just have to erase things and trim things up. So erase that guideline, erase that guideline. I'm going to trim. I'm going to select this as my cutting edge, the top of the footing, and hit enter, and then trim off this extra stuff I have down there on the bottom. And then since it's all a section, I'll open this all up by trimming and hitting enter to make everything a cut line, and sort of trim all of this away like this. And actually this is a little bit of line left, so I can't trim it. I have to erase it. So go to erase and just erase that away. And actually that was above that line. If that's the case, I can go back to trim. If you have it 2 lines there like I did, hit trim, hit enter, and trim that away. The line that couldn't be trimmed was above it, so it's preventing me from getting it on the original trim. It's perfectly fine there. So I got that footing there. Now this setup is sort of just mirrored over here. So I can go to mirror, sort of do a window like that just to select the footing area, hit enter, and go to the midpoint of the top of that to find the center point, and hit enter to end it. And now I can just trim up and fill it just like we did before. So I'm going to TR, enter, enter, to do the shortcut, trim this all up as needed, and that should all be trimmed away. And again, this is the porch, but I've got all the walls and all the roofs in that section there. So if I were to sort of just continue and be nice, I can go and do the porch next. So I'm going to go to the first floor plan and draw the edge of the porch down. Is going to be here. So I can fillet this together now. And I can do the same thing on this side. Go to this line and draw a line down for this edge of the porch. Excuse me. Hit enter and fillet this guy together. So here's the sort of edge of the porch. Of course, we can do the roof next, and they are 12/3 pitch. We know where the underside is because we've already drawn it here, right? So we can go to line and we can draw across. And then we can also come and give the thickness of the edge by drawing across or just offsetting it or copying it. So if I did offset, I say that, well, the edge wants to be offset this amount from there to there because it's the same distance over here. So I can offset that up just like that. And then I can draw down from the second floor, which shows the edge of the roof. I can draw from where it intersects the cut line, which is right here, downwards. And I can draw my little triangle 3/12 to start this. So I'm going to go up 3/12, draw the angle, hit enter. I can erase the top and side of the triangle because I only need the slope. Move that whole line right over to here. and extend it. Hit enter right to where it touches the building. And now I just need to clean up this side, so I can trim up this area, trim that, trim this away, trim this away. And in fact, I don't even need this line anymore. And I'm going to trim. I did TR, enter to start trim. I'm going to select that line, then hit enter. Then do this side. In fact, I'm going to get rid of this line too. So I'm going to do TR again for trim, hit enter to hit a cutting line, and then hit enter to edit to get that area there. And this is mostly constructed on the last one. So I'm going to start with by mirroring this. Mirror. I'm going to select that little piece of the roof and hit enter. I'm going to mirror about the top line here and hit enter. Now the thing is, it's too far out, so I'm going to go back to my guideline here. I'm going to come up to this line right here where the roof crosses my cut line on my second floor and draw a guideline down there. And hit enter, and I'm going to move this whole edge. Select those lines, hit enter. Select this edge, move to it meets that line there, and then I can erase my guideline, and I can trim up from this guideline that roof on each side to make it smaller, and actually trim out that line right there. So you got your cut lines there as well. Actually, there's only one more wall we have to draw. There's other details which we'll get in another video, but there's only one more wall, and if we actually look, we have to draw the interior walls and where we cut through. On the first floor, in this plan, we don't cut through anything in this section cut, but if we look up here on the second floor, not only do we cut through this exterior wall and this exterior wall, but we also cut through this interior wall. So I need to take lines down from this interior wall and cut it straight down, right? And I'm only going to the second floor in this case, so I'm only going to take the guideline right to there, and I can trim this up. So I'm going to go to trim. I'm going to select this as my cutting line and hit enter, and then select that away. And I need the thickness. If you remember the thickness, you can just offset it. If you don't remember the thickness, you can go up here and just hit offset and say offset from that side to that side, or I could have copied it and already have been done actually, but I have to go down here and offset from here to here and hit enter, and I'm going to trim up the zones in between here. So I'm going to do it short with my TR shortcut command. You guys can start figuring that stuff out, and I've got all my walls drawn. So I'm going to end this video here, and we'll come back for some extra details and follow-up videos.